Well, we had a couple technical difficulties, but we back in the game now. Hey, listen. For the people who don't know who MOT is, Man of Tomorrow, I'll tell you, I'm going to tell you a little bit about him before he tells you about himself, because I want to tell everybody the first video that he made, and for the record, here's his YouTube channel. I want everybody to check that out. The first video that really came to prominence with me was one where he was giving a young man some advice, and this young man was dealing with something that other guys have come to me about when they want to talk about traveling the world, and came to talk to him about with their future. And he had to tell this young man, and MOT, you might remember this, you told him, you can't take everyone with you.
Yeah.
There was a young man who was really upset about not being able to succeed and make a way for all the people that he cared about be able to succeed with him. And that hurt him. And that has actually hurt quite a few people that have come to me and said, I've got my life together. I've got things in order, but I wish I could bring everyone else. And you have to tell them you can't. Here's his page. Here's his page. He's got a lot of very interesting conversations that he's talked to with people. But one of the things that everyone has said about this man that I've observed is that he is who he is. And he's really there to help. And just like me, sometimes he has a reputation of not being the nicest when he says things the way he says them, but it comes from a place of, as a man who has found some success in life, wanting to share that and also be honest about the things that get in people's way. Let me say hello to the people on the side. First, BK from the Rockies is always a staunch supporter of the team. He's the person that makes sure everybody gets their links up. He is the field general. I wish I could give him like a golden crown or something to put on his avatar, because he supports us and he's always there for us. He's always also the person that tells everybody, hey, like, share, subscribe, and or comment, because this channel talks about 3 different things. We talk about world travel, not just my life in Brazil, but my friends all over the world. We talk about money, which is my favorite subject, and a lot of different aspects of it. And we also talk about social issues, kind of what we're talking about today. I would have loved for BK to be on with us, but unfortunately he had a work meeting, so he's going to be popping in and out. Vote with your feet said this should be interesting. You know what? Vote with your feet. Make sure you share this. Share this on your Facebook or on your Twitter feed. And boa tarde, brother Sid is back and forth. He's about to make his way down here to hang out with me in Brazil. He's going to move his life down here and do the expat lifestyle, and we've been getting things together for him. DJ Moss says peace. Peace to you too. Well, let me do this. Your man is more than capable of speaking for yourself. Tell them who you are and what inspired you to do the things that you do for people.
Because I went through the same issues, but I didn't have the luxury of being surrounded by the people who we have here today for a type of supplementing that type of help they need with actual nonsense that's going to net them a loss. So I was surrounded like me, I was in the military. I left when I was 17 years old. I walked off the graduation stage and I went fresh on, out of there, 17 years old. Diploma not even warm in my hand, and I started life just like that. And then, this is a live stream I wanted to do Friday, but I got around some really good people who actually gave a damn about where I was going. And I seen people who did not have the same type of help that I had, and how their life turned out and how my life turned out. And so it really kind of get on my nerves when people try to take shortcuts and expect it to be there like everyone else. So most thing that people tell me all the time is, I don't understand. I'm like, no, I understand it very clearly. You just got to be able to do stuff the right way. And it's just that everybody is such in dire straits. Everybody wants the right to F now type of attitude toward things. And I'm like, man, look, these people selling easy answers, they're not even proving that they're out there even doing the things that they say that they're doing, let alone trying to lead you to the proper destination. So once I started seeing how deep and how corrupt this whole system is and was, I'm like, look, man, I'm just going to talk about other things. And so that's why I created my channel, for that, for actual male self-improvement and actually putting yourself on the proper path for sustainable growth, not quick growth, quick death. I don't do that. It's about being sustainable.
There I'm in a situation right now because a lot of the things that I do are based on things I planned long term. The economic downturn hasn't been good for me, but it also hasn't been bad for me. And I've had a lot of people come to me and say, well, why, you deal in cryptocurrency, you have a couple of online businesses. How can I do those things that are going to help me over the next few months? And I have to be very honest when I tell them, I don't have anything that can help you now. None of the things that have brought me success, externally or internally, are things that are going to help you in the immediacy. And that's something that...
Yeah, and that's kind of what the problem is. It's that they're looking for quick solutions. Like, it's kind of like, when you watch the cop show, by the end of the hour, they've already caught the bad guy. But if you know anything about law enforcement, because I used to be in that, if the answer don't pretty much walk into the police officer's office and kick him in the face, they're not actually investigating your case. And that's the kind of thing is that people are out here. It's like, when I put this information out, there's a lot of research and a lot of structure that goes to what I'm doing. It maybe looks easy, but there's a lot of stuff that goes behind it. I probably got a PhD in the transportation industry, even though that's technically not something that's called that. And so what people have to understand...
You talk about the transportation industry, and that leads into something I was going to say. The reason that he can't be with us live right now is at the last minute he had to do something, and he had to get on the road to help somebody out. And the reality is, normally he's here, he's on camera, but I'm going to let this one go because most people know I don't really do anything behind avatars, but you're not afraid to be who you are. You just had something come up, and instead of canceling, he said, I'm going to have to do this from the road. And I still appreciate you not breaking your appointment with me, even though it's inconvenient, it's not convenient for you right now.
No, it's cool, man. It's just that, something comes up, somebody helped you out in the past, you can do two things at once. I mean, the type of non-avatar thing is that I'm not about no bullshit. And so that's what's kind of different, So it's kind of like, I get it, what I'm saying? I get it. But, I could do two things, maybe even 4 or 5 things at the same time, but that's where we at.
Well, you talked about your industry. Give us a quick background on the industry you're in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the transportation industry. I've been here for about 12 years at this point. And pretty much I came in as a driver, started doing a lot of brokering, doing the third-party logistics thing, and I'm kind of like in everywhere of the business now. I do a lot of federal contracts, or in the position to do them, especially when there's like a hurricane or natural disaster that happens, or when the military needs certain type of equipment moved. That's what I do. So,
wow, that's growth in your business.
Yes, and I'm direct and I'm specialized. I don't have 3 or 4 things going on that are not connected to one another. I have one thing that I do with 3 or 4 things connected to that. So this is why it's very important for people to get direct and specialized, rather than trying to pick up everything that they think that they could get to get some quick money out of it. And that's not how everything really works, even though it's pretty much sold like that.
The 24-hour this, the 5-minute that, the 10-minute abs, the get rich quick, you can. I have my social media. I had a guy say, can I interest you in something that's going to help you to grow your net income every month annually? And I said, sure, tell us all about it. And he says, well, let me PM you. I said, no, why don't you just tell us all about it here so everyone can benefit from your wisdom? And of course, it was a scam. I was just goofing along with him. But a lot of people fall for it. A lot of people feel like it's not fair. And that's kind of what I wanted to get into today with you. There are I want to dispel the myth that the most successful, the most masculine, the most aggressive men don't have emotion. We do. But one of the things that separates the successful from the non are allowing your emotions to dictate your actions, because Every day I'm getting more and more calls and emails from people who ask me to mentor them, to help them. And the conversation always leads to a sentence that makes me cringe. The sentence says, I feel like. And whenever I hear I feel like, it really makes me nervous because whatever is coming afterwards is not going to benefit anybody. It's not going to benefit anybody. I get I feel like I should have more. I feel like it's not fair what's happening to me right now. I feel like my job should have given me more notice. I feel like she should have treated me differently. And I said, well, how we feel is in no way, dealing with reality at all. How we feel, most of life is how we react to what the world does to us and how we react to our feelings. But how do you go about, when you talk to young men especially, how do you go about getting them out of the mindset that how they feel will ever actually matter? It's what they do and not behaving from an emotional standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't quite tell them that up front. This is why I tell people that you can get rid of the I feel type of mentality through preparation and realistic expectations. Realistic expectations. Because people don't know that the outcome of where I'm at is through years of direct study. So a lot of people think that they're going to be able to come in here and quickly do this. And I'm like, well, you can quickly come in and drive, but you're not going to be able to quickly come in and make millions of dollars in this industry. That's just not how it's going to work. And there's no amount of, because a lot of people look at, mentoring as, okay, you're going to come and build this $1 million company just like yours, but I'm just going to pay you $1,000 to do it, or 500. It's like, I'd rather you learn it the proper way. I mean, and the proper way isn't by cutting corners, but a lot of people don't truly understand that that's how things are actually done, through a proper steps. And a lot of people, their lives are set up to where they're such in dire straits that they ain't got time for a long, drawn-out process. I'm like, dude, everything is a long, drawn-out process, unless it's fraud. Because fraud is direct and to the point. That that money's going out, results you're not going to be able to get.
Well, Brother Sid in the comment section, he one comment. Check this comment out. He said 10,000 hours. Now that comment, I want to give everybody a quick reference point for that comment. I'm going to read something to you. The 10,000 hour rule, the idea that becoming world class in something requires 10,000 hours of dedicated practice, originated with Anders Ericsson, and was brought to a huge audience by Malcolm Gladwell in his book Outliers. Outliers is a phenomenal book. I love that book. And what I will also say is that if anybody wants a copy of Outliers, all you've got to do is email me and I will send you a copy, because it's one of those books that really, it really makes a difference. So what I'll do then is I'm going to share what the cover of the books look like there. Outliers, The Story of Success by Malcolm Gladwell. He also wrote The Tipping Point and Blink. Both great books. Great books. So I hope everybody gets a chance to look at that. And if you want to email me for a copy, my email is YusefWateef@gmail.com. And I'll send you a copy. There we go. So you're right. People don't want to put in that requisite hours of work to get it. And you find it everywhere. For example, I train in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I am struggling to get to my purple belt. And I've been told by coaches, in different gyms that I've gone to all around the world, they're like, you'll get there. It's going to take you a while. Don't worry about it. Because I would see, I would find myself guilty of comparison as the thief of joy. When I have a friend who started about the same time I did, who advanced, well, that doesn't matter in my fighting career. I still have to, maybe he was going to the gym twice a day. Maybe, I don't know, he was in morning session and evening session, but I'm only in evening session. Who knows? Who cares? Maybe he doesn't have a job and he can do more than I can. Who knows? But I have to put in the work. The amount of work doesn't change because I feel like I've put in a lot of hard work. And we all find ourselves guilty of it. We just have to, as men, say, the way I feel can't impact what I actually do. And I find that behaving that way is what gets a lot of us in trouble. A lot of men end up broke or in prison or heartbroken by letting how they feel dictate their actions. Have you ever seen any of those things happening even in 2020? Even with all the information we have now, have you seen that happening?
Yes. That's why I did a podcast last week, or maybe it was week before last, called "Don't Wait Till You're Backed Into a Corner Before You Come Out Swinging." Don't wait. This stuff is very proper. Don't wait, because a lot of people want the help and all that stuff until they find something to kind of get their attention away from the long-term path, and they get kind of wrapped up, in the fact of how all these other people do things. And I'm like, dude, they're selling you a dream.
I'm going to share this link with
They're not
everybody.
selling you an actual pathway to where this stuff can actually work right. And it's like,
Black men, don't get backed into a corner before you start taking life seriously. Is that the one we're talking about?
yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Don't get backed into a corner before you start taking life seriously. I'm going to put this in the chat so that everybody can click on that. And by the way, everybody make sure you follow Man of Tomorrow, because as I tell everyone, the people that I bring here are people that I can say are legit. I tell everyone to give him the same chance that everyone should give me. Give him a month. Subscribe to his channel. If he has some things that are legit, interesting to you, stay there. If not, you can leave. There are no chains, but he's someone you should definitely, let's see. There we go. And there's the link. It's in the comments. Good afternoon to Sun is Hot Ra. Make sure everybody watching, please make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. And what you said about not waiting until you're back in a corner is kind of like that old analogy of boiling a frog. A lot of people wait until they realize, wait, is that meat cooking right now? I'll give you an example. I just had a young man come to me the other night, and we had to have a real talk about some poor business decisions that he'd made. He and a friend invested into a process in which they were buying an item cheap, storing it, and waiting until next season to sell it at a higher price. It's a classic business model. The problem is neither one of them bothered to check where the items were being stored. They were going on the fact that this person had a great reputation. They never checked on their own. Well, it turns out there was another person that he was also doing the same storage process for that realized after a month or two, she hadn't heard anything and she had no real physical on the ground look at where her merchandise was. So what did she do? She invested in her own business and said, I'm going to go there myself. Surprise, knock and say, hey, where's the storage facility? I just want to have a look at the stuff I've got stored. Of course, nothing was there. She calls the cops. The guy gets hauled downtown. She's first in line to get paid back if the money comes back. These guys aren't. And I explained to them there's no such thing as doing it the easy way or just because. You have to do it the hard way. And just because you felt a certain way, and let's be clear, a lot of people, when you talked about fraud, I worked in the financial business for 9 years. I worked specifically with investments, insurances, and whole life insurance, which everyone has heard me say many times they need to read more about. The best people in the financial industry could also be the worst criminals because we all learn how to talk to people. And I would have to explain to folks when I would tell them something that wasn't much fun or that didn't have as high rate of return, the guy who spoke to you and said things to you that sounded better and made you feel a certain way, bring me his books. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go after you as a client. He's going after you as a client. I'm willing to print out all of the returns for all of the accounts that I'm asking you to put your money in over the 12 months, as well as have clients call you that are already with me. Can he do that? And of course, well, I haven't checked. Now all of a sudden but he felt like the right move. That feeling isn't going to help you. That feeling isn't going to help anyone at all. I know that someone is going to ask me, Why am I specifically talking about specifically men? I am a man. I deal mainly with men. And for me to speak knowledgeably on the thought processes of women would be, even at its most accurate, speculation. I can tell you that women have a certain privilege in life, whereas men will fight to make a woman's reality become true. Whereas with men, we don't have that privilege. It's either going to work and it is true, or it's not going to work because it's not. No one's fighting for our fantasies to become reality, whereas women have the privilege, if they have a good man with them, be it their father, husband, maybe son, he's going to make that true for them. You and I as men don't get that option, so we have to be more guarded about allowing our feelings to dictate our behavior. Is that a fair statement, MOT? Speaking of reputation, look at that. If MOT is on here and he rocks with you, then you have my full support, sir. MOT's reputation is deep. Deep. And like I said earlier, there are
there we go.
There we go.
There we go. It's very true. And you have to realize that you have to listen more than you think. You have to be able to write down more questions than you actually respond to. Because smart questions is going to really keep you out of dumb problems.
Say that again. They didn't hear you the first time. They didn't hear you. Say it again.
I said that smart questions is going to keep you out of dumb problems. Because any person who's selling fraud, one thing all fraudsters have in actual, one thing they have in common is they do not like their actual process being questioned, and they do not have any type of results, tangible results to show you. In no case that I've ever seen, I mean, they can have fake testimonials, but I'm like, who are these people? Can we contact them? Can we talk to them? The answer is always no. And they don't like their actual ideas being questioned at all, because they're operating off of the authority fallacy. And they are the only authority on this. And this is why I tell people, you got to find out what type of training is involved to be this type of person. Are there any type of continuing education? Is there any type of certification? Is there any type of organization that hold these people responsible for the information that they put out? Does this person have any references, any real references? Are there any guarantees or even rates of return of what's going on? Because a lot of planned failures are a part of bad business. You may not know that. It may seem like a disaster to you, but at the end of the day, this is a planned failure. Because a person can do the thing so many times in a row that they know what the ins and outs of the actual idea is. And most people don't understand that this is the case when talking to people who don't have a good track record, or people who don't have an actual receipt that makes sense for the actual product that they're actually putting out.
The good thing about the medium we're on right now, we can go down those small alleyways of conversation. You use the phrase that I use, but I always want to make sure that everybody understands everything. You talked about a fallacy. I want to share with people something called a logical fallacy. You may have heard me talk about those in other conversations. A logical fallacy is a flaw in the structure of an argument which renders the argument invalid. The flaw can be neatly expressed in standard systems of logic, such as an argument is always considered wrong. I want to be clear, logical fallacies are rampant. Logical fallacies are the way that people convince you. For example, 15 logical fallacies you should know. Let's see. I'm going to give everybody just a quick one, because we talked about the logical fallacy with authority. Let's see. There we go. Oh, come on. This page seems to be a little, that page seems to, we'll use the appeal to authority logical fallacy that we talked about. The appeal to authority logical fallacy. Let's see here. Appeal to authority is a common type of fallacy or an argument based on unsound logic. When the writers or speakers use the appeal to authority, they are claiming that something must be true because it is believed by someone who's said to be an authority on the subject. For example, if we go back in American history when which president was it? Nixon. When someone told President Nixon that one of the actions he was taking was a crime, he said, nonsense, I'm the president, so whatever I do can't be illegal. Well, wait a minute, hold on a minute. Just because you say something and you're an authority doesn't mean that what the authority said was true. And that's what we're talking about. That's one of the ways that fraud will definitely sneak up on people. Thank you for subscribing. Flem, be nice. Let's talk again soon. Shout out to you and your brother guest. Great topic. Thanks. Thank you. When you talk about authority, and I'll actually use this as something to cast a quick spotlight on something that I do and something that you do as well. I'm on LinkedIn. Are you on LinkedIn, Man of Tomato? Don't know.
No.
Okay.
I mean, I came to fruition before LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff came available, so I don't have any real need to be on there. Not at this point, because I'm not really networking like that. So. Gotcha.
If people know you, they're lucky. If not, you're not looking for them, huh?
Yeah, no. I mean, because most people you run into nowadays, because I probably get 10 or 15 phone calls per day for people who want to do business, and that's without LinkedIn. Can you imagine where would it be if I were to put all my government information up there? Like, nah, man, I'm not interested in that.
Well, here, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, and I want to show people exactly what we were talking about. When people contact me, a lot of them contact me, and some of the people in this room contact me because one of my businesses is expat relocation services. Well, what does that mean? There are people who plan on coming to Brazil who need someone to show them paperwork, visa, residency, processing, CPNJ numbers, all those things. Well, that's what I do. But I don't just say you should trust me and pay me, because the good thing about LinkedIn, it's a public platform. I tell people to go all the way to the bottom and look at something called recommendations. This is where professionals, under their professional name and company, talk about who I am and what I do and whether or not I'm worth it. These are companies that have hired me to do quite a few different things for them in my profession, and these are people who are willing to stand up on their own and say, he's worth it. Those are the things you should look for, and you can contact any of the people here. You can always email them and say, hey, do you know this guy? This is what he's charging us. Is it worth it? A lot of folks don't have that, especially with the internet. A lot of people don't have those independent places where they can look up and say, wait a minute, who is this guy? Quick question, though. You don't have that, but if I'm not mistaken, you do have Patreon, right?
That's why I go kind of in-depth. Yeah, I'm here.
I couldn't quite hear you in the beginning.
Wait, hold on a second. Let me check and see if this turned up. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Yeah, I do have Patreon. Yeah. Yeah, there where we get more into the self-improvement thing. I tell people about all types of businesses that do work, that are verified, and other things on my Patreon.
Because I'm going to share everybody. I'm going to share that. We have that on the screen. I'm also going to share the screen with them so that they can actually see your Patreon, because as I said, I always share the good news. When I find someone who's worth it, I actively encourage everybody to find them and become part of their circle. There is so much good news and good information out there right now. No one can have it all. This is MOT's Patreon, and I want everyone to take a look at it. Again, there is no guarantee you have to join what he does, but look at it. It's something that you may find beneficial. Give it a month like I tell everybody else. Just like I tell everybody else. Give it a month. And as well with me, I have a Patreon as well. I do a lot of business talk there. I tell people that my Patreon are for things that are not a whole lot of fun. The Patreon that I run is not... These are for things, for example, how do you get a passport for another country? How do you get your... let me give an example. How do you get a criminal background check for leaving the United States and going to another country? How do you train your staff if you've never had staff before? How do you do different things business-wise? that's what I do on my Patreon, and I encourage everyone to take a look at it if it's got something for you. This is also where people come to me for one-on-one when they need someone to sit down with them for the things that I do. So it seems as if we've both been out there, giving the good word to people, sharing kind of the benefit of our life experiences, or the benefit of those 10,000 hours of work that you and I have both put into our businesses. I don't want to not ask the obverse side of the question, though, because we've been talking about staying away from our emotions when we make these important decisions. Have you ever found a situation where behaving in respect to your emotions has been a good thing?
No. Well, not for this industry, because you can really lose a customer in a heartbeat. You can lose a lot of stuff pretty easily in this industry because it's so competitive. And saying the wrong thing to the wrong person, or having your drivers not show up on time, or anything. I tell these people, whatever you do, do not piss off anybody. I tell them that the lowest paid employees are going to act the most of a damn fool, and who's can cost me the most money, which is lowly paid employees. Not the CEOs of companies, but the CEOs of companies are not going to hear the side of the story that they need to hear. The only thing that they're going to hear is what their lowly paid employee told them. So that's why I tell people, when you're talking to these customers out here, just make sure you hide by, don't say nothing to them about anything. Anything that's a problem, you give me a call. You don't talk to the people at the front desk or front anything. And pretty much, if you're mouthing off at the customer, your ass is instantly fired. No, I ain't got no time for that, because I set out the actual plans very specifically so that way I can have the best type of results.
Yeah, you and me both. I have staff, and one of the things that's true across businesses is when I explain to my staff that I don't care if it's a meeting online, I don't care if it's a meeting in person, I don't care if it's a time you're supposed to have returned an email or opened a file for a client, you can never be late. Ever. Under any circumstance. Period. That can cost us everything. But yeah, that level of not behaving based on how we feel is everything to us. It's everything to us. It's making sure that we think our way through, look at the problem at hand, clearly defining the problem, realizing, and here's something else I want to throw out there, especially the people in the comment section, when people tell you it's not personal. It's not personal. That thing that's happening right now that you think is there to destroy your life, odds are it's not personal. Odds are whatever happened to you is something that was going to happen to whoever answered the call at that time. Whoever came in was going to get hit. That's the thing. Most people don't understand that they can't get away from it. I feel like, and I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but let me back up. Are there any areas or corners that I've not turned that you wanted to go down?
Well, I mean, not necessarily. It's just that you never know who's watching or listening when you're doing something. I realized that while doing government contracts. While you think you're on the phone with this person, no, there's a general on the other line telling her what to say and do. And you got to be mindful of the fact is how you behave in front of the lowest paid employee is how the highest amount of leadership is going to be able to consistently see you, no matter what. Because if you don't talk to their frontline employee with any level of sense of respect, they're not going to take you with any level of sense of respect seriously after that. This is why I really don't mess around with customers.
When you deal with someone in your working, in your business, when you deal with something who's dealing with an issue and they tend to be behaving emotionally, how do you retrain them out of that? Because it's one thing when someone comes to you as a mentor and says, can you coach me out of this? It's something else when someone who is directly responsible to you, who is part of your business strategy, how do you work with them in that context?
What I do is just tell them to write down the key points of what's being discussed. because there's a reason why things get emotional. And as long as you can simplify the actual issue down to a very specific thing, you pretty much are going to be all right, you know. But there's a lot of people who want to try to fight fire with fire, but you can't do that because you can't not allow the customer to get out why he or she are upset at a very specific thing. And if you cut them off while they're trying to explain to you what their business needs are, that's like, who is this guy? Does he really know my business better than I do? He won't even listen to my actual concerns if he think he has got the answer to them, while not actually answering the actual concerns is how we got here. So you got to keep that in mind when you're dealing with customers too.
So could this be another instance of when it's always just better to keep your mouth shut most of the time?
Nah, man, it's always better in a symbol and a sign of respect to let them talk about their issue. Because remember, they're paying you, right? So if someone is paying you, they're actually paying you to also listen to their concerns and adjust your actual business process to fit them. And what they're actually listening for is whether or not you are inflexible to the point to where the way you do things is more important than the way that they want to run their business. And that's how normally you lose a customer.
You know, we got one thing that's a little off topic, but I'm going to come back, MOT. I want to address, let's see, a question we have here. And I want to address this question a couple of different ways to Sun is Hot Ra. He said, question, sir, you mentioned you live in Brazil. Yes, I'm a permanent resident. I've lived here 5 years. I'm a legal permanent resident of Brazil. Can you tell me what property values is over there, and are there any bargains? Do I have property values right now on hand? No. Can I tell you, are there bargains to be had? Yes. Part of what my company does is help people find the things that they need to live in Brazil, whether they want to live here, rent here, have a second home here, or move here full time like I did. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do 3 things. 1, I'm going to send this link, okay? If you look, I just put a video called Brazil's Cost of Living Expenses there in the chat, and I want you to open that and save that for later. 2, I want you to look at, let's see, where is it? I have an overall general overview for Brazil that's called All About Brazil, okay? And I want you to open that one too. The third thing I'm going to say to you about your questions on your questions on Brazil, Sun is Hot Ra, is I want to make sure you have my email. I'd like you to email me, and you and I will chat. There's my email, and find out how exactly I can help you. Because Brazil has been good to me. Brazil has been very good to me. So make sure you got my email. Copy that down. Send me an email. Sometime this evening, I'm going to reply to you. Send me an email with your phone number, preferably. Send me your phone number, and we're going to chat soon. Let's see. Make sure you subscribe to MOT's YouTube videos. Yeah, make sure you subscribe there. But what you said, Brother MOT, what you said to people about making certain that they listen, it goes back to those same fundamental principles. Stop talking, do more listening, don't get emotional. Because when we cut people off, especially a client, what do we end up doing? We end up telling them that, well, how I feel is more important than how you feel. Just because you ordered it this way and I gave it to you that way, and now you feel like, see, a client, one of my clients can get emotional. I'm never going to be angry at them for that. What they do is find out that I am that rock in the storm. I'm the lighthouse. I'm not going to get upset. Whatever it is, I'm going to listen to you. And I'm going to say, okay, here's how we need to work this out together. And here's how I can adjust what I'm doing for you. Because, and you can testify to this, Brother MOT, clients change their mind and act in strange ways fairly often. Fairly often.
Yeah.
They do things that, well, I ordered this and, I want to, why? I know I told you that I needed it by 5 p.m. on Wednesday, but my boss now, he asked me to make sure I can get him this report on the Brazilian cost of land. I need it by Monday, and I feel like, I gave you the advance, and I feel, well, calm down. Let me find out how I can help you do this. I'm not going to cut him off and say, no, you said Monday, you said Wednesday, you'll be lucky if you get a Tuesday night. Even if I have to tell him, no, I'm going to say no without using those words. I might have to stop and explain to them, well, I have several calls ahead of you. I have this, I have that. I'm going to do my best to get it to you then, but I'm going to make sure to fulfill the contract. Little things like that make a huge, huge difference. An enormous difference.
Yes. And because guess what? Everything is ever changing anyway.
Yeah.
It's always ever changing. So it's like, if you can't move as fast as your customer does, then you're not a correct match for the customer. Like me, I'm doing steel right now. These people's minds change all the time. We need it here, we need it this place, we need it this stock, we need it this. Oh, well, such and such went to this and that. And I'm like, all right, well, I just got to sit here then. Not a big problem for me. I wait here for over 30 minutes, it's $500 extra that I get paid. It's already in the contract. I ain't got to worry about nothing. This is why it's very costly to make local people wait, especially in trucking. Costs a fortune. They know that, and this is why you don't get the frontline driver or the frontline person who calls dispatch caught up in how much things cost and all that. That's already worked out. Your job is to field the concern and update the customer with an email about what his or her concern was at that point in time and what changed. That's it. Are you sure you want us to do blah, blah, blah versus blah, blah, blah? Are you sure that this changed from this to this? And if it changes again, sir or madam, you can always give us a call whenever things change, because we would like to change as often as you do, no matter how big or how small.
Brother Flemdy Nice, thank you. I appreciate that. So I do want to do one thing, and we don't have the time or the bandwidth right now because we've gone on a little over time that I wanted to really dig into this with you. First, I want to say thanks again, and I hope this is the tip of the iceberg. I hope that when I do other things different, related or some unrelated, I want you to know that your voice is always welcome. On any social media platform that you see I'm talking about anything, if I haven't already told you, which I probably will, I want you to know you can send me a message and say, hey, send me a link. I want to come in and chat. And the door is open. No questions asked. The second thing I'll say to you, you talk about your trucking industry. I'd like to have you back, and I'd like to talk more about whether or not the trucking industry is a good choice right now, especially for people who can't afford university and people who do want to do something that's going to afford them a quality of life that they can be proud of if they're willing to put in the sweat equity. Would you be willing to come back and talk about that with us?
About the industry, yes. Because I think that it is a good industry to be in. Of course, I'm in the industry, but it takes a lot of discipline to be in this industry. A lot of alone time me. I don't have a problem being by myself. I don't have a problem having, order within the household. That's why I have a woman here who's orderly, who do all the shit that I need, to be done. I don't have those type of problems. Mostly because I deal with cultured women and not uncultured women. And what's the knocking noise? That's you? Yeah.
The neighbor, okay, I'm going to tell everybody a story in my building. Hold on, okay. They put up a shelf. They put up a shelf. I shouldn't be laughing. They put up a shelf on a Sunday, and apparently they didn't know how to measure where the studs are, and they didn't hire a professional. You can be one or the other. You can choose not to know how to do something and hire a professional, or you can do the hard work to find out how to do a certain piece of manual labor yourself. So they put this shelf in, and Sunday night, we thought a werewolf was attacking. There was a crash, and then another crash, and then another crash. And then all of a sudden, you heard what sounded like millions of pieces of glass hitting the ground. The shelf broke, and everything hit the ground. It sounded like a monster was rampaging. Turns out they didn't put the shelf in the right way. Thank you. Thank you, Rallo Show. Matter of fact, I've got to go make sure. I believe I need to be subscribed to you. If I'm not mistaken, you were suggested to me. And thank you for the donation. Thank you for the coffee. And I hope for everybody down here whoever has that interest in Brazil, everybody knows when they come down, we're gonna have coffee together. I've been enjoying not just my clients that come to visit me in Brazil, but people who come to Brazil just to hang out. I live in São Paulo. So let's do this. And BK from the Rockies said discussing trucking in other countries like Brazil and DR could be a ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Commercial trucking in other countries. Because I know there are a lot of American companies and manufacturers all over South America. I wonder, do they have a preference as to what kind of trucks or who the truckers are? That's something I need to dig into. MOT, I need to dig into that. I need to dig into that.
Hold on a second. I think this echo cancellation thing that StreamYards have put on here has made the echoing or whatever worse, not better. Hold on a second. Yeah, that's what it was. The whole echo cancellation, it doesn't work for StreamYard. So hopefully you can hear me very clearly now.
A little bit better. Is that an option you have? Because if they added it, I didn't get a notification. I'm just using it straight out of the box.
Yeah. I mean, I just put it on another phone and laptop. I mean, not laptop, but tablet myself, and that was the option that I pressed. And that's why you were hearing those weird noises that never happens when I'm on StreamYard. But I did hear it this time, so I'm not going to use that anymore, that feature anymore. Anyway, yeah.
All right, brother man of tomorrow. Thank you for stopping by and chatting with us. Let me do this. I'm going to tell everybody goodbye. I'm going to hang up. You and I hang out backstage for a few minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's cool, man.
All right. Listen, to everybody who came in, thank you. I want you to all to know to please be safe wherever you are. And make sure you share this with someone. Share this on your Facebook. Share this on your Twitter. This is how we get to meet other great people. This is how we get to have those conversations that give everyone information they didn't have before. Make sure you subscribe to MOT's channel, Man of Tomorrow. And I hope everybody has a great day wherever you are. Thank you. Boom.